Hey everyone, my name's Robbie. Used to be a bit of a chess player when I was a kid, and I had to give it up to real life, going to uni and stuff. So now that I'm 40 years old, I've decided to get back into it and I have a son, a 2-year-old son, and I want to get him into it. So I'll start by making a few videos and see if he gets interested. What we're going to do today is just go over my last ever tournament game played, which was in 2016. Decided to come out of retirement for one tournament and did okay, but nothing special. But this is my last game that I played. I'll run it through with you guys, explain a few things, and then we'll see if I can improve from here. So I was white and I played the first move is d4, and then I didn't know much opening theory, so I played just basically what I knew. So this is Dutch defense. I didn't know much about it, so I continued developing as I thought normal. Nothing cutting edge here. And now bishop b4, e3. So I'm playing very slow and steady, but what I didn't realise is that this bishop here is going to be a bit blocked in. It's going to be hard to push e4 later once the black player goes bishop b7. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for me, as you'll see in the future, especially now that my pawns are here. This bishop is pretty much entombed. There's a potential diagonal down here later, which I try to use. You'll see how I go ahead with it. So first I continue development, ready to play this move, at least have some activity for this bishop. Rook e8 gets out of the way in advance, castles, d6, a5. So because I had an isolated pawn here, I thought a good chance would be to swap it off. I can't do much in the center because he's got very good control over the center. Kingside, I feel like I'm a bit behind here, so I have to try and push where I'm stronger, which is I guess on the queen side. Knight e4, good move, targeting my pawn. Queen b3. Now I chose this square. One is to x-ray the king in the future, also to put pressure on the bishop, which in combined with this pawn adds pressure to the queen side. g5, my opponent goes for an attack. Okay, I played rook d1, thinking to try and attack in the center and the queen side. And then after this one, I played knight d2. Notice this very aggressive pawn chain here. My opponent can bring his queen out, but he's got a queen and a knight and a bishop that could participate in the attack. This knight's still pretty far away, and the rook, having moved to this square, can no longer join the attack on the f-file. So my opponent doesn't want to swap pieces. Alright, now this is considered a mistake. I played this move to try and block up the king side and kick his knight back, and then I was hoping to continue with c5 next, opening the center and blocking his attack. However, after he correctly took and king over, all I managed to achieve is the opening of the king side, and now the g-file is potentially open, and this is a very nasty attack coming towards me. So having realised this, I've decided, okay, I've got to defend a bit, I've got to bring some pieces back to the king side. I abandoned my plans to attack on the queen side. So rook f1, and then you see brings a knight over. I made another mistake, a6. For some reason, the nervousness of being in a tournament, I haven't played for a while, I forgot the bishop would come to e4. I just assumed the bishop would go back to c8, and I'm kicking the bishop off this nasty diagonal. After bishop e4, which I completely missed, I was like, oh, now I have to go full on retreat mode. I try to bring my pieces back over to the king side, sensing the attack was coming. Rook g8. Now this queen bishop is still trapped, it's stuck behind this pawn. If I go bishop a3, it doesn't do anything because he's got these strong pawns here in the dark squares. So I was thinking, where do I get this bishop? How can I help with the defense and the attack? So what I worked out was, if I can get the bishop to this square, one, it would block an attack down the g-file. Two, it would put pressure on the center, and then when I go c5, it'll be doing something. I always try and look at the worst piece I've got and try and make something of it. So in this case, that's the bishop. So you notice my plan, bishop d2, rook g6, bishop e1, queen f6, bishop g3. I've now achieved my objective. This helps out in defense as well as putting pressure. So let's see here, rook g8. My opponent's achieved his objective of pressure down the g-file. Now at this point, I I can't do much with my rook, I can't do much with my bishop, I can't really exchange off, so I thought, since he's so focused on the king side, I'm going to distract him by attacking on the queen side, which gives up a pawn. I was happy to play c5. Obviously it gives up a pawn because of take, knight takes. However, one, it opens the bishop, you'll notice. It creates a hole on this square, which I can later exploit, and his king may be a little bit open. So after the moves take, which is a better version as it controls the e5 square, I was now looking for some sort of counterplay. I've got a rook here that's not doing anything. Let's get into the attack. So first of all, queen check. You'll notice this is one advantage of opening up these pawns. And here, if e5, I can already consider sacrificing in the center if I want. Don't know if it works, but it's already a possibility. To try and open up things for the king and maybe expose this knight a bit. However, my opponent blocked with the rook. Now, you'll notice that the king is a bit exposed on the back rank here, and since this is pinned, it can't go back to block. The knight can't cut nothing. Only the queen can cover the back rank. So I thought, let's try and get a rook here would be beautiful. Now that my rooks are connected, I decided to give up a rook. So my opponent took the rook, but now I'm threatening a very nasty check on the back row. My opponent played h5, one to give the king some room, and also potentially to drive the pawn forward with an attack. Okay, so this bank rank rook move doesn't really achieve much because the king just moves up and gets out of the pin. What I thought was the 7th rank. This pawn's another asset I have, which is defended by the bishop. So how about we go rook b7, take the pawn, and then go for a queen. Again, I'm just trying to distract against this kingside attack. Yes, I know the knight gives up. I give up a second exchange. But for the two exchanges, I've got a centralized queen, I've got a dangerous passed pawn, and we've exchanged a few pieces, so the attack on the king is not so bad. If he ever exchanges knights, I just take back. This bishop covers the 7 square, g2 square, and b7 square, and my king is actually pretty safe. My opponent makes his first mistake. Now, he had a choice of going to e8, f8, or d8. d8 is the mistake because, as you can see, my queen and my opponent's queen are staring off at each other, which means that this e5 square is now available. However, I played bishop e5 to win back an exchange, thinking I'll get some material, I'll get the a7 pawn, and we'll see what happens. I missed a really good move here, which was actually knight to e5. The knight e5 threatens two things. It threatens to take on g6 to check, winning a whole rook, because this other rook is pinned. And if my opponent deals with this move by, say, moving the king up, knight c6, look, I fork the queening square and the queen, which then nets me a whole queen for a knight and a pawn. So that would have been a good way to get out of the game. Instead, bishop e5, I decided to get the exchange, didn't see the other move. c5, good move, opening up some breathing room to attack the pawn. I take the rook, and then queen h4, which was another mistake. I thought I was putting pressure on the knight, and I thought I was stopping rook takes b7 because then I get the knight, but then I forgot that my opponent can take it with check, and then take it back with check, and then win my queen. Luckily for me, I can get another queen, but all I managed to do was lose my good pawn. Now the rest of the game is just a bit of, I'm trying to exchange pawns off. If I can get all the pawns off, maybe it's a draw, but I'm definitely lost here. Queen f5, I don't want to exchange queens. I win another pawn. It's still lost. Check, check, check. My opponent wins a pawn. Check, and I get to, luckily me, I get to win an exchange. However, I am still down 2 pawns. The rest of the game doesn't last very long. I get checked, and here I resigned. Even though I managed to get back to only 1 pawn down, these 2 pass pawns are far enough apart that it's very hard for me to stop it. An example would have been king up, and then a5. Now, if I run back to stop against the a pawn, you look at king comes up, and then you'll see that I can't stop this other pawn, and we are going to be queening. Even though I managed to win all my material back, and it's just 2 pawns versus 2 pawns, this h5 pawn completely blocks up my other 2 pawns, and I lost the game. So I hope you enjoyed my review of my game. I feel like I need to work on my openings, I need to work on my tactics. I missed a few tactics in this game. There's also one pretty tactic I want to show you guys before we go. Very pretty tactic from my opponent that they missed back here. Back in this position, my opponent could have played, instead of rook to g6, they could have played knight to h3 check, king over, and look at this beautiful move. Rook takes g2, threatening a fork. If king takes, check, knight's pinned, back in the corner, and then the calm, rook to g8, crushing, mate in 1. How do you stop the mate? I'm threatening, they are threatening queen g2 mate, and if the rook comes over to stop the checkmate, knight f2 checkmate. Beautiful. So I've got to work on my tactics, I've got to work on my openings, and let's see how far I can get with this. Thanks for watching.